The year is 1325. Two Italian cities go to war. 2,000 men die in a single afternoon. And the reason, according to legend, is a bucket. A completely normal wooden bucket. I'm Otto. This is the War of the Bucket. And by the end of this video, you'll know why the legend is wrong and why the truth is, somehow, even more ridiculous. First, some context. In 1325, there is no Italy. There's a patchwork of city-states, proud, rich, heavily armed, and packed onto one peninsula like angry neighbors sharing a very small fence. And every one of these cities is picked a side in one giant argument. Who's the boss of Europe, the Pope or the Emperor? Team Pope is called the Guelphs. Team Emperor is called the Ghibellines. Entire cities sign up for one side or the other, like a sports league where the losing team gets burned down. Bologna is Team Pope. Modena, its neighbor, is Team Emperor. They sit about 40 kilometers apart on the same old Roman road. They have hated each other for as long as anyone can remember. And it's not just vibes. It's real estate. For decades, the two cities have been snatching border castles and villages from each other like toys in a daycare. In 1296, Bologna grabbed two Modenese border towns. The Pope said, "That's fine." The Pope, you'll notice, was not a neutral referee in this league. By 1325, Modena is run by a man named Passerino Bonacolsi, a warlord, an ally of the emperor, and a permanent resident on the Pope's list of least favorite people. Pope John XXII had officially declared him a rebel against the church, and offered crusader-style forgiveness of sins to anyone who hurt him. Yes, free salvation, for one weird trick. So when summer 1325 comes around, Bologna feels very confident. Bolognese troops cross the border and burn Modenese farmland. Twice. The second raid lasts 2 whole weeks. Modena answers in September. The Bolognese fortress of Monteveglio falls into Modenese hands through treason from the inside. Remember that castle. The castle is the real story. Because this, not a bucket, is what makes Bologna snap. Losing Monteveglio is a strategic disaster and a public slap in the face. Bologna declares war and reaches for the biggest stick it can find. That stick? Around 32,000 men. Modena scrapes together about 7,000. On paper, this is over before it starts. Quick honesty break. Those numbers come from medieval chroniclers, who counted armies the way fishermen measure fish. But every source agrees on the shape of it. Bologna's army was enormous, and Modena's wasn't. November 15th, 1325. The armies meet at Zappolino, on Bologna's own territory. It's late in the day. The sun is already going down. Bologna has the numbers. Modena has the professionals. Hardened cavalry, experienced commanders, and absolutely nothing to lose. The Modenese knights charge, and the giant Bolognese army does what giant amateur armies do best. It panics. The line breaks. The rout begins. Tens of thousands of men run for the city walls, with Modenese cavalry on their heels. By nightfall, around 2,000 men are dead. The battle has lasted barely an evening. Modena, outnumbered more than 4-1, has won completely. And now comes the part that made this war immortal. The Modenese ride up to the gates of Bologna itself. They can't take the city. 7,000 men can't swallow a metropolis. So instead, the story goes, they take a souvenir. From a well right by the city gate, they pull up a bucket. An ordinary oak bucket. And they carry it home like it's the World Cup. Think about the insult here. They didn't take gold. They didn't take land. They took the one object that says, we walked up to your front door and you couldn't stop us.
And now, the myth check you knew was coming. The legend says Modena stole the bucket first, and the war happened because of it. That is backwards.
The war started over castles, borders, and 2 centuries of Pope versus Emperor politics. The bucket came at the end as a victory lap. The legend took the punchline and promoted it to the cause.
So, where does the legend come from? Fast forward to 1622. An Italian poet named Alessandro Tassone writes a comedy epic called La Secchia Rapita, The Stolen Bucket.
In the poem, the bucket is the cause. Gods squabble, heroes duel, all over one piece of wooden kitchenware. It's satire. It was a bestseller, and like all good satire, it slowly replaced the actual facts.
150 years later, there's even an opera about the bucket. At this point, the bucket has a better publicist than most kings. Meanwhile, the real war? It just fizzled out. No empire fell, the border barely moved, and the Pope and the Emperor kept arguing for another 200 years. Nothing was solved at Zappolino. Nothing at all.
Which leaves one last question. Where is the bucket now?
Modena, obviously. The original is kept in the city hall, the Palazzo Comunale, guarded like a crown jewel. A replica hangs in the city's great bell tower, the Ghirlandina, for visitors. That's 700 years of keeping the trophy. Bologna never got it back. Not in a war, not in a treaty, not once. The bucket stays in Modena, and Modena makes sure everyone knows it.
So why do we remember this war at all? History is full of medieval border wars. Castles fell, men died, borders wobbled, and we forgot almost every single one of them. But give a war one an absurd object, one bucket, and suddenly it survives 7 centuries. Tens of thousands of soldiers are forgotten. The kitchenware is immortal. And maybe that's the real lesson. The War of the Bucket wasn't fought over something stupid. It was fought over the same things as always: land, power, and which boss you prayed for. The bucket just made it memorable. Strip away the legend, and 1325 looks like every other year in medieval Italy. Keep the legend, and suddenly you're watching a video about it 700 years later. So, next time someone tells you the dumbest war in history started over a bucket, you can adjust your glasses and say, actually, the bucket was the trophy. The war was just regular human nonsense. I'm Otto. I draw history badly, so you remember it well. Next week, you're putting on sandals and joining the Roman army. Bring 30 kilograms of luggage. Subscribe so you don't miss recruitment day.